we started talking for a few more minutes, but I mean, calling it was pretty simple. I mean,
calling it was super easy.
Yeah.
I mean, I had a ton of ideas in my head, like, leading up to it, you know. That's why I like to know who I'm wrestling, like, beforehand for Ring of Honor, because I can at least think about the match. Occasionally, I'll think of something and I'll have to write it down because my memory's not the best anymore. Yeah, I mean, I had a ton of... I think we benefited from knowing that we were going an hour and not, the fans obviously not having a clue, as opposed to our second hour draw, which I think everybody, at least about 75%, at least 75% of the crowd knew that it was probably going to be a draw, or it was at least going, 50, 55 minutes, something like that. We had like a completely clean slate. I mean, and there's a lot of killing time. That's where all the headlock ideas came from. When we both punked out that.
Don't call it killing time. Call it.
When we both punked out that fan.
You know what? I will thank that fan right now. That was about the best goddamn thing you could have done at that point.
Yes.
I remember we were sitting there and like.
Unless you've already killed yourself.
Yeah, unless you've already killed yourself from the embarrassment. No. I remember just prior to that, before we pounded out of the ring, we're sitting there, we're in the ring, and I just kind of was like, I'm thinking to myself, I don't really got a lot left to do. So then after that, I kind of got reinvigorated, and we continued on with the match.
But yeah, and even though a lot of the headlock stuff was talked about, there's a lot of stuff in that match that's on the fly, just because you think you have enough stuff, and then you don't. You run out of stuff to do, and then I guess that's what separates good workers from the rest of the pack, because we just, I don't know, it was almost like we were on autopilot, and that's where a lot of the majority of the story came from that we played off of in the second match.
What are your memories of the crowd reaction?
It was pretty cool. I was really surprised.
I was shocked as hell, because I came out and I was getting a lot more babyface heat than I thought I was gonna. I mean, we had been in Dayton before, but was it the first time in the building?
No, when we were there the first time ever, we were in that building.
Okay, yeah.
So it was the third time we were there.
I wasn't on that
We
show.
were in Wilmington the second show.
Yeah,
Right.
It really wasn't like it. I mean, the Dayton crowd up to that point wasn't. I mean, it was a good crowd, but it wasn't really a super hot.
But the last
crowd.
time we were in Dayton, we were in a different building.
Yeah.
And that was
that went out by the
Saints.
thing.
Yeah, that was the Saints
God,
prophecy match.
remember those two girls that came down? They were like managers in Special K for that little bit.
Two girls.
And then I had them all
Girls?
hooked up, and then Daniels took forever in the shower. That's when you got rid of Daniels, and Daniels took forever in the shower. And then they took off back to wherever they were going.
OMD.
Yeah.
Yes.
Son of a bitch.
Yeah. The crowd reaction shocked me because I was getting more. To me, it was more of an even matchup, and I figured there'd be a lot more heel heat on me. But it worked out the way we worked and structured the match, because it was more of a, the athletic contest than kind of an old time heat getting babyface heel matchup.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, like I was really surprised because I just didn't think that the crowd would be as receptive to it. I mean,
They were. They stayed with it the whole time.
They stayed with it
They
the
were,
whole time, which was
molten hot at the end, and that helps out a lot, especially when you ring for an hour.
Especially because, like I said, Dayton was kind of a new market for us down there, and we, I think a lot of the fans who've come to Ring of Honor at that time when they first come through were really just kind of there for the flash and the bang, and I personally didn't think like a Dayton crowd was ready for kind of a 1 hour epic saga of drama, and if you want to call it that, I don't know. But they held through the entire thing. It was a good time.
What are your memories of the match itself?
It was, it was a lot more fun and a lot easier to wrestle than I thought it was going to be, because it was a lot more. It was much more natural. I mean, I've done 15 minutes. I've wrestled for 15 minutes, and it's been more difficult than wrestling that hour for me personally. Just from a mental game. I mean, physically, hell, you're out there for an hour wrestling, but I think mentally, because you have the time, you're able to develop things and do things and really take your time with things and focus on things the right way. And I think it worked out. I really enjoyed it, me personally. The only time I came close to doing an hour, and I don't think it was a legit hour. I think it was more like 45 minutes, but it was was in some weird little southern Colorado carny show, and I mean it was what it was. I mean, but that was definitely, for me, it was, gave me a lot of confidence in my ability to kind of go out there on the fly and do what I do and wrestle. And it was enjoyable.
I remember, and you're not stiff at all, so everybody out there don't believe the hype, but I remember getting slapped really hard, and then I remember getting my knee clipped, and then I remember wrestling hurt for the rest of the match. But, you know, accidents happen.
Yeah, accidents.
Yes. That's okay, though, because I figure I wrestle better when I'm hurt anyway. I don't know why. It just makes me work harder, I suppose.
Wounded animal.
I kind of consider all my other hour draw stuff. I did, you know, all my long matches and hour draws with Hero.
Dude, I don't have to move.
Sorry. I did an hour draw with Cabana in Wisconsin. I might have done a couple others, but to me they were like I drew off all those experiences and I used them all in this match, and it was all pretty much like practice to tell the story that I wanted to tell within an hour, and you know, I got to do it with Joe. So I just remember it going like really, really well. You know, like I said, we had a clean slate. We had the benefit of knowing that we were going an hour, and we just had to do the right things at the right times. And we didn't blow any of our big moves. We didn't waste anything.
Yeah, that was.
So that, to me, like a lot of people will say that's, you know, the worst match of the series, but you know, got the series off to a hell of a start.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we didn't burn through pretty much any of our moveset. You know, everything made sense, and we didn't hit like all our big stuff till like the last 10 minutes. You know, so
If that, I don't think we even hit it at all.
yeah, I mean,
that's a big thing too. Is that I really wanted to avoid is that, you know, there's nothing I hate more than the kind of like, it's just such a token like, hey, here's these two good dudes out there. They're gonna go out there and wrestle, and then it's gonna be this big epic match. But of course, every big epic match, everybody kicks out everybody's finisher 3 or 4 times, and I can't say that I haven't done it in my career, but I mean, it's not something I really enjoy watching or doing, because I mean, it kind of, you lose a little bit of the suspense. I mean,
and we knew we were doing a rematch. We just didn't know when.
Yeah.
You know.
And we thought it was going to be way
Right.
down
So
the road.
it was always like, you know, and it's kind of going off on a tangent, but what a lot of guys that are starting off today, or maybe have been in the business for 2-3 years, don't understand is if you're working somebody for the first time, like the first time you've ever wrestled, you don't do everything you can do, because there's always going to be rematches, and then there's going to be a rematch from that rematch, you know. So you never tried, especially if, you know, you're not in the main event, even though we were that night. Actually, no, we weren't.
No, we weren't. There was a
they
match
had
after us.
yeah. So there is something to be said for
Follow that.
saving something for the, you know, the next match. I mean, everybody would just like to go out there and, you know, go 100 miles an hour and do everything in the book, and you know, they're like the 4th match on the show. You're not saving anything for the main event. But I think we did just a really, really good job of telling the story we wanted to tell. I mean, I looked like $1 million because, you know, Joe didn't beat me. You know, it looked many times.
I was around like 500,000, but I think he still looked good.
In the meantime, you know, Joe looked beatable for like one of the first times. You know, he didn't hit like his finisher on me. I hit the plunge and I fell out of the ring. So it was like kind of left doubt in the fans' mind whether, you know, I could beat Joe or whether he could put me away. So I think it was booked brilliantly. You know, everybody in the match like came out looking like $1 million, and even Homicide, who just recently turned heel, runs out and like ruins the big, you know, celebratory moment. We just had this epic match, and Homicide comes out, and fans just shit all over him.
That is like the first time, like, because D is such an awesome wrestler, and when, you know, when Side comes out there and he does his stuff, I mean, it's hard for fans to boo him because he's that good.
Yeah.
And I mean, I remember like Homicide. We were, you know, after the whole deal was over, I mean, that was the first time, I think, in Ring of Honor where he got legitimate, like, hateful heel heat because of his actions in the ring, you know. And normally, you know, with a guy like Homicide, like, he was busting his ass to be a heel.